Hello and welcome to Vivisections with Nervous Neuron. I'm warning you guys, it's not pretty. A vivisection is basically a dissection done on an organism while it's still alive, and that's what I'm going to show you today. So today I'm going to show everybody what it's like on YouTube. Let's start. Oh, Thalamus, you're in the way. We're doing a vivisection. Here we are. You get your organism. Alright. Get a knife. And hack into it like this. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, look at that, folks. Alright. Scissors. Dissect out the seed. It seems like organisms like to eat other organisms. Fascinating. It's still alive. Okay, so it goes like this. Matt, Blue Man, posted a video about going vegetarian for just one day. Yep, vegetarian for just one day. Or maybe, if it works out well, just one day out of a week, vegetarian. Right, okay. And then some peoples came on and said, oh, vegetarianism. Oh, veganism. Not veganism, but veganism, or whatever. And so then Matt asked some questions about being a vegan and stuff. And then the vegan guy replied with some answers. And then Matt's like, but what about compassion for plants? You know, plants have feelings too. Or, well, we don't know that, but what about if they do? So, in comes Nervous Neuron, ready, barging into the discussion. So let's see where this goes. Me, I like to call myself a pseudo-vegetarian. Why? I'm one of those people that if they eat meat, it's chicken and fish. I don't like the taste of pork, beef, and all that shit. And chicken and fish on an ethical grounds, and I shouldn't be eating it, but tastes good. That doesn't matter. I mean, punching someone in the face feels good. Doesn't mean I can do it. Well, my mum cooks my food. It'll be chicken and fish. She insists I have to eat meat. She makes me. And then I eat it. In all seriousness, these are pretty tough ethical questions. Something which philosophers ponder on and think about and argue about for centuries. Life itself is quite strange. And number one, is it possible to be perfectly ethical and moral? Take something simple as in the Christian or the whatever 10th commandment, thou shalt not kill. You think that's pretty damn simple. You know, I don't go around blowing people's brains out. People that do should be put in jail, blah blah blah. But when it comes to animals, alright, we'll eat them. People say, oh, animal rights, that's alright. Even if you, there's some people like Matt who are like, but plants, you know, we got to be nice to the plants, compassion for everybody. But right, say we wanted to live on thou shalt not kill. What do we do about the cells in our body? I mean, our skin is made up of dead cells, our hair, dead cells. I mean, are we sacrificing poor cells to die so we can live? Shit. Neurons for synapse formation and stuff to occur. Some neurons have gotta die. I can't remember, was it at 2 years of age we have maximum density of the brain, and then those neurons are pruned away. don't trust me on that. I can't remember. I did the exam last week and I've deleted that memory from my mind. And then there's the bacteria, millions and millions of those, coming into our body, and our immune system mercilessly slaughters them by the billionful. But the problem is with this, it's a lose-lose situation. You either have to kill, let those living things die, or you have to let them kill us, and that's still dying. And by killing us, think about all the billions, millions and trillions of cells that our bodies are composed of. Point being, it's impossible to show compassion to life by not killing anything, because something has to die. So the next issue is, ethically, who should live and who should die? Who has the most right to life? Who doesn't? Animals, are they more important than plants? Are plants more important than fungi? Are fungi more important than viruses? Are viruses even alive? There's usually some underlying moral principles that people go by to decide these things, even if they don't know themselves. The one I've noticed the most, and especially here in this discussion, is feeling of pain. So painism, basically. I tend to go by suffering. It's almost the same sort of thing, because pain causes suffering, but other things can cause suffering apart from pain. Some things might be worse, and this is where it's important for plants. I think I could pretty damn well say that plants cannot feel pain. Oh, but how do you know? Plants can't talk, they can't tell us, you say? Simple, plants don't have a nervous system, they don't have nociception, they can't feel anything. Not only that, they do not have an organised central nervous system, so they are not able to process this pain and appreciate it and consciously experience it as pain. It's simple, they just don't have the machinery to do it. It's kind of like saying, you never know, my table might be able to show pictures and compute algorithms, but I'm sorry, your table isn't a computer. You have to have a computer for that. They're two different things. I guess to kind of prove that point, say, what about operating on people in surgery, or a paralysed person punching the bit where they can't feel? No pain experienced, and if they don't see it, they don't hear it or anything, don't sense it, it's as if that pain stimulus never existed. And as for how do we really know, that's kind of one of those questions where you can't answer it. It's untestable, I guess, if you really want to stretch it far. How do we really know your computer doesn't feel pain? How do I know my chair doesn't like me sitting on it? How do I know the grass doesn't like being walked on? We can explain it by saying no nervous system, no pain, no central nervous system, no conscious experience of pain. Then you can say, but how do we really know? It's like those games kids play when they're like, why? But why? But why? And eventually you get to a point where you just can't answer it. But alright, that's talking about pain here. What about if we take suffering or struggles as a whole? We'd have to say that plants do experience this. Microorganisms, cells, anything that can react to aversive stimuli can. But is that kind of simple struggle, can that be compared to the suffering a human being could go through? It's an interesting topic, concept, and it's rather hard to get your head around it, because when you think of suffering and bad things, it's kind of like the conscious aspect of it is the bad part, and if something doesn't have this conscious thing of it, then it doesn't really work that much. And we can't prove if plants have spirits or all of this stuff. It's just not testable, so we can't really know. And really, this is kind of a gradient, not all or nothing. Even with life, we go down to the bacteria, the single-celled organism that can live by itself. Then we can go lower, a virus. Is a virus even a living thing? Okay, people, the anti-psychiatry bunch, go on and on about, oh, we don't even know if there's biological markers for mental illness. Well, you know what? There isn't even biological markers for what life is! Shit, I'm not kidding you. Scientists are still arguing about it, trying to define what life is. And that's the thing, scientists don't even know if a virus is a living thing or not because of that. It can't replicate, so that's one of the things it breaks, but hey, it can do it when it's inside of cells. And it's not even made up of cells for another thing. And then let's push it even further. Prions. They're just proteins that can just infect other proteins. What about proteins? Are they alive? What about DNA? What about biological molecules? Can they suffer? What about minerals and rocks and sand? What about when they get squished into the ground and you mercilessly step on it? That's the problem with categorizing and cut-off points. And that's basically what biology is about. All this shit about categorizing shit. Well, not really, but there always gets to a point where you're on the borderline and you don't know where something goes. Like, can a plant feel pain or not? Can it suffer? How much? Why? Should we care if it can suffer? So yes, where is the line drawn for compassion? Is it just at living things? What about viruses? What about proteins? What can we include? Should it be all molecules? Therefore all matter? Can we even draw a line? Should it be all or nothing? Maybe just compassion depends on your ethical viewpoint and your moral obligations, or your underlying moral principles of what you find important. As for my moral obligations, stretching further into why eating animals is better than eating humans. Basically, I go by sentience and sapience. Basically, if an organism is aware of itself, and if it's aware of itself, then it can suffer far greatly than something that is not aware of itself. Humans are in on this, most of them anyway. Vegetable humans who have no very good brain function, in comas and stuff, they're not aware of themselves. Are you aware of yourself when you sleep? Not including dreams! Some other non-human animals are aware of themselves too, depending on what the research says. Great apes, like chimpanzees and gorillas. And you got dolphins, elephants, I think. Different things. And they've got some things that aren't aware of themselves that they like to say. Mice and rats, cats and dogs, therefore we can experiment on them. Pigs, cows, chickens, you can gobble them up like no tomorrow because they're not aware of themselves. But those animals are still able to feel pain and be able to suffer, but just in a less way than like humans and apes can, because it's just for sort of a short amount of time kind of thing in the present. For example, you stab a chicken and it's in pain for that amount of time. If you keep a chicken in a small locked up cage, it's there, it wants out, it wants its freedom. You did the same thing to a human, they miss its family. they are anxious about what's going to happen to them in the future. They can remember what happened in the past and use that information to know that there's not going to be a very good future. They're going to be in depression, anxiety, and all that sort of stuff, and they're consciously aware of this. Personally, I think they're both wrong, but if you had to pick who it happens to, chicken cops it. But the thing is, if you had to pick, you don't have to pick any of them if you go vegan, I guess. So both animals can suffer. It's just that a human animal can suffer a lot more. This is basically my reading from Peter Singer, the old philosopher. He used to teach at my Monash uni, and that's what we learnt when I did philosophy in first year. So I'm not very well read on the topic, and I don't really have much opposing things to say. To finish up this discussion on moral dilemmas and things, people often have a go at vegetarians and say, no way, that's not good enough. You have to go vegan. What about the chickens suffering to make eggs? I mean, they suffer way more than the meat chickens. And what about the cows who have to give birth and blah, 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 blah. Basically, people are treating it as in you're good or you're bad, when you can't do that to life. It doesn't work that way. Someone also told me about how I sometimes eat meat, so a pseudo-vegetarian. They said, oh, well, that's better than the person that eats steak twice a day, and so on. Like, the more harm you can reduce, the better. And I don't think there's a point where you can get to where you're perfect, because you're always going to harm something. You've got to harm a plant. You've got to harm a virus. You've got to harm a protein. You've got to kill some DNA. Woo. Shit. And seriously, even veganism. What about the pesticides used on your fruit and your things? You can't control exactly what you eat. It's impossible. Who knows what they do to make the products that are vegan? And like the vegan guy said, sometimes those things have been made in a factory that do use animal products. So how strict of a vegan can you get? What can you really do? It's hard to be a perfectly moral being. So I reckon some people just give up and go, fuck it, I do what I like. If I offend people, I don't give a crap. And gets a bit difficult. Thanks, extremists, moral extremists. You're not doing anything helpful. You're just making people feel bad about themselves, and then they'll abandon morals altogether. Very interesting video, Blue Matt, but it's making my head hurt. The ethics, the morals.